the Weber State Weekly Men's Hoops Show. We are a member of the Big Sky Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Colby Peterson. On the show today, joining me, so Colby Peterson doesn't have to fly solo this time. I got somebody to talk to, folks. Returning to the show, we got Sean Lewis. Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm excited because years ago somebody had this thought that you don't lose to the green teams, and that
Yes,
guy
they
was a
did.
pretty smart feller, I think, and the Wildcats made that guy pretty smart over the weekend by not losing to the green teams.
That's right. So if you folks don't know, if you've seen it, on social media, you don't lose to the green teams. You can credit that to the one and only Sean Lewis. That started from that man's mind. So we're gonna put it on a T-shirt soon, but we're gonna have to pay royalties to that man because classic saying, instant classic.
No, nobody in the Big Sky Conference should lose to the green teams.
Not even the green teams.
That's exactly
Don't
right.
even lose to each other, bro. It's so bad. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about today's show. We're going to talk about last week's games, obviously, against the green teams, against Portland State and Sac State, both at the Purple Palace. So we'll go over that, kind of what we liked, what we didn't like, MVPs. Then I'll also do a segment called Buy or Sell. I put together some scenarios for Sean, and I'll be interested to see if he would buy or sell on some of those. Looking forward to the end of the conference slate, heading into the conference tournament. So we'll see what he'll buy and what he'll sell. But before we get into all that, I want to encourage everyone, please subscribe to the show. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all great places to find Weber State Weekly. I'm gonna do some. I got to do some stuff on the YouTube channel. I'm gonna try and edit the videos so that you can just skip to certain segments. I got to learn how to do that this week. So it's on my to-do list of many things, on top of some NBA homework. But yeah. We'll get that done. Also, we're on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Recruiting is heating up. Some guys are committing. We even got a 3-star edge rusher committed tonight. Made sure to tag us and tag our good friend over at the Standard Examiner, Brett Hine. So keep an eye peeled on those social media channels because those letters of intent are rolling in. Guys are committing. And then, of course, if you want to become a patron, go to patreon.com/Weber State Weekly. Become a patron. I'm going to try and get those premium previews out this week for our loyal patrons, so you guys can get an idea of what's coming this week as the Wildcats take the trip up to the Palouse. They'll face Idaho and Eastern Washington. Idaho, interesting matchup there. They got a couple of guys who can really score the ball. And then, of course, the Eastern sitting at the top of the conference standings right now. So be a tough trip. And so we'll prepare you, our loyal patrons, for those matchups and give you ideas of what to watch. And you can only get that content if you are a patron. So go to patreon.com/Weber State Weekly to become one. All right, Sean, let's talk a little bit about last week, man. I heard that you had an opportunity to actually get to the Palace on Saturday. Is that right?
I did. I was in arena thanks to some good friends that hooked me up, and had a great time watching the Wildcats in person. I wasn't sure I was going to get back to the Palace this year, and so it was a lot of fun to see that and got to see a close game. Shout out to the student section on Saturday night. I know
Good.
that they did a lot to get some of the institute folks out, some of the other things, prize giveaways, lots of things going on for the students. Like what I'm seeing from the Destruction social media accounts, trying to get turnout out, and those are things that grassroots and small simple things that will eventually lead to big things. Get the fans hooked now, get them enjoying the game, give them a good experience, give them exciting basketball, give them wins. Everybody likes to see a winner, so you do some
Gritty
of those things,
win.
the fans will come back, and I think you can attribute Saturday night's victory a little bit to the student section. There's a missed free throw late with lots of brick posters and screaming and yelling in the guy's face.
Twisting
Um,
of the little posters. I like that
yeah,
touch. That was
that
nice.
that made a difference in the game Saturday night. When you have a 2-point victory, somebody missed a free throw, that makes a difference. So good on the students for being there and showing up on Saturday night. I understand they were present there on Thursday night too. So good things happen at the Palace. One thing I want to talk about Saturday night. We'll get into the nitty gritty of the details and all that, but it felt so good. One of the things that I've noticed watching, this is the first season I'm watching away for most of the games, right? And Colby and I are now watching on ESPN Plus for most of the games,
Yep.
and one of the things that you notice is it just feels like attendance is way down over when I've attended in person, and you can kind of see that a little bit or not. But I've got to say, for one of the first times in a long time, as we were cheering on Saturday night, my watch gave me the decibel was too high warning that I was in too loud of an environment and I was going to get ear damage if I stayed there. So it was loud for moments on Saturday night, and that was a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, attendance was good. I checked the official attendance numbers because it looked full to me as well watching on television. 6,100, the official number. So good crowd on a Saturday. Gritty win, got the dub. Like you said, student section was packed. And so just a nice sign of things to come. Hopefully that's a trend that continues. Love seeing the Palace get filled. I mean, can you imagine, Sean, if, the Wildcats get 9,000 on the regular in the Palace? Like,
that would be a dream come true, because I haven't seen that since 2003.
Yeah.
And that was a spectacular season. And it didn't even happen early in 2003. It was at the end of 2003 when it was pretty much the second half of the conference season when they were, for those of you that may be new to Wildcat Athletics, 2003, the men's team ran the Big Sky Table.
Undefeated.
Undefeated. I believe that's the last time somebody has run the Big Sky Table. There may have been one other, but by the end of that place was full and rocking. And back then, if you won the regular season, you got to host the conference tournament, and that was probably the best attended conference tournament I've ever seen. And sadly, I was living out of state for that one, so I didn't get to experience any of that season in person, which was sad. But
it's rough, but legendary season, and like you said, an honest to goodness home court advantage in the Palace, which is easily the biggest, I think, facility in the conference. But man,
easily. And I can make an argument, Colby, and this is a totally different show, and I've probably made this argument before. I can make an argument that I would love to see, this is sacrilegious to most Weber State fans, and I'm sorry. I would love to see Weber State do something like Idaho just did and build a 6,000 to 8,000 seat gym that is more intimate and better sidelines and such like that. Because I think the Palace is just too big now. And we see that, I mean, even the U can't fill their building, and their basketball team's been awful for a couple of years, but they don't fill that building. They've got curtains hanging down. I think there's things the team could do, but if I ever win the gazillion dollar Mega Millions, one of the things we do is we build a new basketball gym for Weber State.
Man, that's tough, because I hear what you're saying, and I do like what they built up in Moscow. Like, it's that facility is gorgeous, and if you folks are going to be, if you're going to be watching on ESPN Plus this week, you'll get a chance to see it. It's really, really beautiful. It's a nice facility. It would be nice to have a facility like that for the Wildcats, but at the same time, the storied history of the D Event Center, tough to give that up, man, because the D is the place.
Yeah, and I'm being more pragmatic than nostalgic when I say that, right?
Totally.
And trying to be what's best for the basketball environment and the season ticket holders and such moving forward. There's a lot of history in the Purple Palace, and you don't, for Wildcat fans and basketball fans in the state of Utah, that place has a lot of history and a lot of memories, and not just Weber State memories. A lot of high school basketball games, a lot of legendary high school basketball games have happened there.
NCAA tournament games.
NCAA tournament games. The 1983 NC State Wolfpack opened the NCAA tournament in Ogden at the Purple Palace on their Cinderella run. So that's just, there's lots of things that have happened there. But the days of the NCAA tournament coming to college campuses again like that were long gone, and you just the Palace was great for concerts back in the day. A lot of good headliner shows that have come through Ogden, but those aren't coming because the facility just can't handle the big touring acts that come through anymore. And so that's a tough decision to make, and it's one that, like I say, I don't think the legislature is going to fund that, but somebody making a big donation could do it. And maybe if I win the gazillion dollars in a lottery, which hasn't happened yet, we will, maybe we can make that decision.
But it was good to see the Palace have, quite a few people there. And so hopefully that momentum continues, folks. Keep showing up to the Palace. I mean, like Sean said, I think that the crowd had an impact in a close game like this against a tough Sac State team. And I think the crowd had the impact to give the Wildcats that win, and it felt big time. I don't know about you, but it felt big time. It felt like a big win, which I can't believe I'm saying about a green team, but here we are.
Well, it's one of those games that you felt like, and this is, I was talking to a friend this weekend about it. They didn't give it away. And that was a game that
No,
you looked at, and with 5 minutes left and the lead was shrinking, and you're like, gosh, this feels like one that we've given away this year, and they didn't give it away. So to me, that's a sign of growth for the Wildcats, that they didn't give that game away. They held tough. They were able to weather the storm. And yes, it was tied with 43 seconds left. But that's why you have a superstar in Dylan Jones to go and make that hoop. And and all you needed was one hoop. He got it, and that was it. So credit to the Wildcats. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to talk about Thursday's game
yeah,
and
we
what we
do.
like against Portland State, because 2 assists shy, do it all DJ, 2 assists shy of a triple double.
Yeah,
Um,
he's right
and
there.
just a monster game for him. His line, he finished. Uh, I've got it here. Hold please. He finished with 14 rebounds, 8 assists, and 17 points. Steve Verplanken led the team with 19 points on 5 of 6 3-point shooting. Monster
Yeah,
game from him, too, in
yeah.
30 minutes. We had 5 guys in double figures, including Junior Ballard. Um, Alex Chu had a nice night with 10 points. So that was just a dominating performance by the Wildcats. And one of the things I was looking at was that in scoring, Portland State actually leads the league in scoring at 76.9 points per game. And what did we hold them to, Colby?
So this is definitely a thing to call out because the Wildcats held them to just 68 points, so about 10 below their average, and the Wildcats exceeded their average, 84 points. Wildcats right now, they're only scoring on average about 66 points a game, so nearly 20 points more than what they usually get in a game. I think a lot of that had to do with good shooting from the perimeter. I think that you'd probably agree with me there. I mean, the Wildcats shoot as a whole, as a team, because we talked about the hot shooting night of Steve Verplanken. Wildcats shoot 55% from behind the arc in this game. That's just blistering. And,
10 of 18 was a beautiful
yeah,
showing from the 3-point land. And um, didn't shoot too badly from the field. I mean, 31 of
no,
54 was a decent. That's 57% from the field. You hit 57% from the field, you're going to be in a lot of ball games. But I think it was the defense, really, that Weber State really had. They forced 13 turnovers
yep.
um, from the Vikings,
7 of those
and I
as
think,
steals.
yeah, and I think that is a Portland State averages 17 turnovers, so that's right at their average. But Weber uh, usually only forces about 12.9. We're actually negative in the turnover margin on the season. So we were playing above their head in turnovers, uh, getting that done on Thursday night. But just Portland State just looked lost in the second half. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because I think that they were a little bit shell shocked by what they had got. They did not shoot. They didn't shoot terrible. They shot 33% from the field. I think they're a team that they're not like the hottest shooting team from three. That award goes to Northern Colorado right now. They're shooting 35%. Portland State is, just a slightly above the Wildcats. They're averaging 34% a game. Same with the Wildcats. But it just felt like they just couldn't find their rhythm. They weren't getting it done behind the arc. They just shot absolutely abysmally. They shot 26% in this one. The 3 of 11 in the first half from 3, 1 of 4 in the second half. They really tried. They had more success in the paint or, from 2 in the second half. But that first half, 8 of 24, just not a good half for them.
Well, the game was over by the first half. It was 51-29 at halftime. Portland State actually outscored us by 6 in the second half and held us to 33 points in that second half, but the damage was already done
Yeah.
in that first half, and they just came out and played the string. One of the things that they looked at, you look at points of turnovers. Portland State led that 16-9. Fast break points 16-14. points in the paint. We were actually ended up 38 to 30 points in the paint. But uh, if you were to just look at the things that Portland State did well, they did them well, and it was fairly good. But it was just the shooting, and they came out as a complete first half. As I was talking to my friend over the weekend, what I commented on was that this was the first uh, 30-minute game that Weber State has played, and what I mean by that is we've seen Weber State play really well for half of a game, so for 20 minutes of the game, I still don't think we've seen a full 40-minute game. Sacramento State comes a little bit close, but there's a lot to nitpick there. But I think Weber played really, really well for 30 minutes of the Portland State game, and we're able to hold on for that. So um, just a great win to win going away on Portland State, which helped with confidence leading into Saturday.
Yeah. One of the last things I wanted to point out from Saturday's win, or Thursday's win, because I really think this was the key to a lot of what the Wildcats did, the assist numbers. The Wildcats had 18 assists in this game. And so a thing to point out, the Wildcats have not been a great assisting team this season. They're dead last in the conference, averaging 11 per game. So 18 is a better mark than even Eastern Washington, who leads the conference right now, averaging 15 a game. So I really liked the assisting, and I felt like a lot of that was finding Alex Chu down low. The defense collapses on somebody driving from the top of the key, whether that was Dylan Jones, Steve Verplanken, and then that person just kind of dumps it off to Alex, and he's getting a high percentage shot at the rim. He's 5 of 6 from the line, or in the paint, 0 for 2 from the free throw line, but just really high percentage shots that really got him involved and stacked up those assist numbers really quickly. And it just felt like the sharing of the ball was really the difference to just get this Wildcat team out shooting a high percentage and making Portland State's defense just sweat. They just didn't know what to do or how to counteract that. And I was so happy to see those assists. I really think that if the Wildcats can continue that trend, if they can continue to share the ball the way that they did on Thursday night, that's a team that's unbeatable, man. Like, that's a team that will beat Montana State. That's a team that will even beat an Eastern Washington, because it's tough to deal with.
Well, and to your point, that 18 assists is a season high.
Yeah.
They've hit 17 once
Far away.
at Utah State, 16 against Cal Poly and St. Martin's, which is probably the best week that the Wildcats had, those three
Yeah.
games there. So
Yeah.
I think your point is well taken, that if the Wildcats share the ball, they're a better team, and good things happen when they do that. So ball movement, getting the ball down low to Alex Chu, who's been a beast. When they fed him down low, especially early in games, when they feed him down low, he's usually pretty dominant. And then they go away from it, either because adjustments that the other team makes, or just that they want to start the inside out type stuff. But gosh, give Alex the rock. I mean, he's doing good things with it. He's making good decisions. Let the man eat while he's down there.
I think maybe the hesitance is Alex has had a hard time shooting from the free throw line. And so
Sure.
you do want to go to him because, the chance that he gets a high percentage shot is there. And when he's getting those, I mean, obviously it's tough to block a dunk, folks. I don't know if you knew that, but it is. But the problem is, on the flip side of that, is if you don't put it in, you get sent to the line. And when you're like a 63% free throw shooter, comes a little bit of a liability. So might be a
Well, it's that
factor.
old hack a Shack mentality, right?
Totally,
The
right?
foul and the free throw is worth fewer points than the dunk.
Because you'll take your chances.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of that, I really felt like fouls were the thing that kept Portland State in this game. They were 12 of 19, or no, sorry, that was the Wildcats, 34 from the line. Wildcats were 12 of 19, 3 uncharacteristic misses by DJ from the line. Just that doesn't happen, folks. But only 19 total free throws, and Portland State with 34. So it gives you an idea of, like, you cut that in half. If things are a little bit more equal, they don't make up those 6 points in the second half, Sean. They don't.
Sure. Speaking of fouls, and I know we're not supposed to do this, but um,
But we're
that was
going to
a
do it.
really that was a really odd technical foul on the bench in the second half. And from what I understand, it was a coach that was too far out on the floor, and just watching that, it was just odd because you never see those kind of technical fouls called, and the official box score only said one, but I swear I heard somebody say that the coach was ejected and and sent away, but there's only one listed on the official box score. So,
Well, I see two.
j-
There's one
well,
for
well,
on
one
out.
was to Alex, one was on the player, and then one was on the coach.
Yeah, one says
But
team.
yeah, and that's on the coach. But that was that same sequence, right? Because what I saw happen, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but it was the weird foul at mid court that you're just like whatever, and Alex pointed up to the
Yeah,
the video board, and that's an automatic tee. I mean, that's showing up the ref.
yeah,
The ref's going to call that tee 9 times out of 9 times, right? Or 10 times out of 10 times. The ref's
yep.
going to call that tee. You don't tell the ref to look up at the board. But it was just shortly after that they called the tee on the bench, and I've heard a couple different accounts from people who were in arena, and one person said that the coach wasn't even talking to the ref, but he was taking a couple of steps out on the floor. Um, I don't know. I don't know what's true. I wasn't there, but just an odd technical foul. You rarely see technical fouls on assistant coaches like that.
Yeah, 100% true. So a weird one, but in the grand scheme of things, did not matter because the Wildcats had amassed such a huge lead because of sharing the ball, shooting well from three. I mean, like we said, Sean, when those assist numbers are up, I mean, you talked about the St. Martins, the Cal Poly, and the Utah State game. Those three games are really where the Wildcat season turned around, and a lot of that
Yep.
had to do with the Wildcats sharing the ball well. Then you see once again sharing the ball well against the Vikings. It ain't a game. And this is a team that, leads the conference in scoring. Um, it's not a game. It's blowing them out. So
Yep.
good things. Any final thoughts on this one? I wanted to get maybe your MVP from this one.
No, anytime you're 2 assists away from a triple double, you get the MVP honors because triple doubles are so rare in college basketball, especially Weber State. That do it all DJ literally did it all on
Yep.
Thursday night, so he's the
Yeah,
MVP.
yeah, he did. I like what you're saying, and I was on Twitter, saying, all right, we're on triple dub watch for DJ, and didn't end up getting those final 2 assists, which was a bummer. But I got to say, in this one, I'm going to give the MVP to Steve, and here's why: 5 of 6 from three is just a terrific mark when the Wildcats have had their woes shooting from the 3-point line this season. If
Sure.
that's a number that can stay consistent, like it's just a catalyst because it frees up so many other things that the Wildcats want to do. The Wildcats are a team that want to play inside. They want to use size. You can tell that they like to feed it to Alex Chu. We've seen them, put in Daniel Ruzan. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Anyway, he's in. They like to have him back down the person in the post, and he's really good around the rim. Just that kind of game inside, they really like it. But when there's that space, when they have to respect the three on a good shooting night, man, that just really does things. And so 5 of 6 from three is quite a feat this season. I got to go with that, man, Steve, because I got something to talk about with DJ in the next one anyway. So, all right. So if that's all for Portland State, let's talk a little bit about Sac State then, man. So this was a game that you were in attendance for, obviously, and this one was. I think that this game was the opposite of Thursday night. This game was an absolute slog. The game was 24-21 at halftime. Sacramento State scores only 24 points in the second half as well to get to 48, but the Wildcats slightly better, scoring 29 in the second half to win it 50-48. Sean, what'd you like from this one?
I like that we won. I liked
I like that too.
I liked the DJ with 43 seconds left in the game, somewhere right around there,
Yep.
or 20. We got the ball with 23 seconds left on that free throw by Patterson, and we took the ball down. You knew it was going to go to DJ. You knew who was going to make the move and make the play, and he made the play. And Sacramento had nothing to stop him, and that was that. So to me, that was a sign of DJ being the alpha dog on the team, taking that when the team needed a big moment, he responded and was successful in that. So that's what I liked from that. What I didn't like is this. Weber State scored their 48th point with 4:57 left in the game on a free throw by Alex Chu. From 4:57 to 6 seconds left, we did not score a point, and that was, to me, that was. By the way, the score was 48 to 39 at that point, a 9 point lead. So we did not score a point, gave up 9 points to Sacramento State. So what I could say is I didn't like is we should never have been in that situation to begin with, to need a last second bucket by our superstar to win that game.
Yeah, I was also surprised too because I had been checking out Twitter while watching the game, and the scoring drought went on for quite a bit. So 45, the Wildcats hit 45 points. At that point, 7 minutes left in the second half. It was 45 to 38. The Wildcats with a 7-point lead. They go on to score just 5 more points in the final 7 minutes of the game. And that includes
Yeah,
a clutch layup by Dylan Jones to put the Wildcats up 2. So if you take that, layup that was made with 23 seconds left, the Wildcats, like you said, Sean, get the ball with 23 seconds left in the game. DJ goes down. He's not losing the night. He takes advantage of it, gets the layup. The Wildcats go ahead. So 3 points. Aside from that, we're talking about, roughly 6.5 minutes of no scoring and watching that lead dwindle. Wildcat fans, I think, sweating a little
don't
bit.
don't bring up the obvious historical equivalent, which I just did. So find me. But yeah, I mean, this is something that I think we've talked about in previous seasons with a different coach. I think we've seen it this season. The Wildcats just seem to go to sleep for 5 minutes at a time, and they just can't seem to score. And this happens to a lot of basketball teams, but it just seems to be more regular with the Wildcats. And when that happens to them, they let teams back in the game. Sacramento State should not have been in that game Saturday night. They've got a good team. I really like their coach. They're doing good things there, but the Wildcats should have had that one done. They weren't hitting the 3 pointers. They weren't hitting the shots. I mean, sometimes you have a Jim Boylan night and the ball doesn't go in the hoop, but you get the you do what you need to do to win, and I thought that's what the Wildcats did on Saturday night. They did what they needed to do to win, and it was weird because sitting in arena, you never felt like the Wildcats were out of control of the game until uh, they tied it. But even then, we had plenty of time on the clock. It wasn't like we had to hit something with 2 seconds left, or we only had 2 seconds to get it up the floor. The Wildcats were in control for most of that, and you just kind of you felt it slip away, but it didn't feel like it was slipping away. It was weird in arena. I don't know how it felt watching on TV, but it was weird like that in arena where you felt like the Wildcats were in control and they just needed one more bucket. And if that one more bucket had come with 5 minutes left instead of 23 seconds left, uh, there'd be a difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair because, the Wildcats didn't trail, in those final minutes. And so you don't necessarily feel that, pressure, oh, man, we got to find a bucket now because, we need to get caught back up and tie the game at least if we want to see overtime. Like you said, Sean, Sac State ties the game with, 43 seconds left. And so it's like, hey, ball's in your court. You got to figure it out. You just need to get a bucket and you go ahead. And luckily, they never trailed. And so it didn't feel like you didn't feel that pressure because it's like if all else fails,
Yeah,
even in the final seconds of the game where it was like, okay, their guy is going to drive and he's going to, put a shoulder into Junior Ballard's chest and try and get it. I mean, he had a shot and it was a decent look. Like you can't blame him for the shot. It just didn't go in. But
yeah,
even that didn't feel like, I mean, you wanted to see him win, obviously, but if he had hit that shot, you're just going to OT and whatever. But he misses
yeah,
it. Alex Chu gets the rebound. Game's over. Let's get out of here.
yep.
So Yeah, I hear you. Like, it didn't feel like that kind of pressure because the Wildcats didn't trail in those close minutes toward the end of the game.
And there was some good things that happened on that. Dylan with 18, or DJ with 18 points. Dyson Kohler had 12. Um,
4 or
lighting
5
up the
shooting.
stat sheets. Yeah. Um, the Wildcats go 6 of 18, so not quite as hot, but they only took 18 shots on Thursday, or 18 threes on Thursday. The difference was 4 3-pointers. Makes a big difference in the game,
Sure.
uh,
The
but
game is very comfortable if some of those fall, right?
yeah, you're turning a close game to a comfortable game is all. So I don't know. I liked the game. I liked what I saw from the Wildcats. Um, I I was sitting in a different spot, so it was a different perspective for me, seeing how the game uh, played out. But um, yeah, it was just a couple weird officiating calls on Saturday again.
A lot of
But
them, dude. I'm gonna be honest, a lot
but
of them. It was like, really? That's a foul? Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Ridiculous.
and maybe I was distracted with my family being in tow on Saturday night, but I just thought it was a good game, and it was well played by both teams. Let's go cliche, but it was just a really fun game to be at. There was a great atmosphere. Like I said, my noise meter went off, and I just it was just fun to be in the Palace. And so I'm not going to be too critical of Saturday's game because we got the win, and my family had a really good time. And I should credit where credit's due. Had a couple players come up to the stands and take pictures with my children and sign some autographs. Junior Ballard and a couple other guys came over and said hello to the family. So thank those guys for taking time and doing what they can to make fans for life. The team handed out Junior Ballard posters at the beginning of the game. We got a couple autographs on them, and my younger son was the whole ride home for a couple hours was, this is my new prized possession, this is awesome. And so you can tell that you make a Wildcat fan for life when you do those small things, like coming out and saying hi to the fans after the game, signing autographs, making the kids feel good. That's how we build Wildcat fans, and I hope the administration you know uh, encourages more of that, because the more you can do to make Wildcat fans when they're kids, they'll be Wildcat fans when they're adults.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, I've got some of those, signed prize possessions myself, including a football now that is legendary, signed by Jay Hill. So that's the kind of thing that you hold on to, right?
Yeah,
Remember the
yeah,
good old days. So I hear you. I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about in this one, Sean. Talk about things that I liked. Obviously, the grit was one that I wanted to talk about. Yes, things were ugly. The Wildcats shot, a fairly flat 32% from the field, 33% from three, 71% from the line, which is, uncharacteristic, I think, of them. Right now, the Wildcats sit at the top of the conference. They average 79% as a team. So 71%, a little bit low. It's not where they're usually at, but it is what it is. But one of the things I wanted to call out here was it was actually worse, on Thursday night, where they had, a lot of turnovers, but this one, 12 turnovers, a little bit high. Only 10 assists. Now, 10 assists is a pretty decent number because, like we talked about, when it comes overall, now, the Wildcats are averaging 11, so a little bit below that. Few more would have been nice, but I think part of that is the shooting component that we talked about. If the ball goes in the hoop, I think a few more times those assist numbers climb, and so it's just
yep,
a function of a rough shooting night. Because Steve was 4 of 13 in this one. He was 1 of 7 from three after an absolutely scorching night from three on Thursday, and so it's just, that's the way it goes sometimes. You got a guy who's just burning it up. Another time he's just not burning it up. So it is what it is. Another thing that I didn't love was that only 6 bench points in the win
yeah.
on Thursday night. The Wildcats had 25 bench points. This one just 6. And so just kind of a smattering of those, 2 from Junior Ballard, 2 from Hanjay Tamba, 2 from Daniel Ruzan. Like, I think that if the Wildcats can get more consistent bench production, games like this don't happen because like we saw on Thursday night, if you get that bench production, games get very comfortable and you're allowed to, open up things and give guys a little bit more time because of it. So
Sure.
didn't love that, but it's the way it goes. Sometimes when the ball's not going in the hoop, it's just a rough night. Alex Chu was 0 for 7. He's not normally 0 for 7. So it's just a function of, the way that game went.
Yeah. And there was some pretty good defense being played
right.
by Sacramento State. I mean, give some credit there. But can I talk about one other thing I didn't like? And this is non-basketball related on Saturday night. And I've noticed that on the scoreboards, the Sacramento State logo was displayed in all gray. And apparently that is supposed to be an intimidation thing, disparaging our opponents or making them feel less than or all that. And I want to say in today's world, be better, Weber State. Be classier, show the teammates the respect. They're working hard. Don't play stupid games with the other team's logos. Display their logos in color on the scoreboard. If you're going to show disrespect like that to the teams in a little stupid petty way that nobody knows about unless they know about it, then you're going to give rise to fans that are going to disrespect the teams in petty ways. And the school should lead by example in that. So I hope that next time I visit the Purple Palace that the opposing team's logo is in color on the scoreboard like it always has been and as it should be. And I'm going to call out the athletics administration. That was not classy.
All right. That's something I didn't even know. I didn't know that was the thing. So,
well, I noticed it and I had to dig a little into why it was that way. And that was the way it was explained to me. And I doubt many other people noticed it because I'm a nerd and I notice things like that.
Yeah.
But stop. Just put the logo up there.
One point I wanted to make, you talked about defense. Sac State right now, I mean, the Wildcats are the second best defense in the conference overall. Wildcats giving up just 66 points a game, 66.6. Just 0.2 points behind Montana State at number 1. Pretty stout defense considering the way things went when the Wildcats played Montana State in Bozeman, in spite of that whistle that night. That was something else. But Sac State not far behind, 67.2 points. So like you said, tough defense being played, and that's something we should have expected from this Hornets team, and that's exactly what Wildcat fans got in the Palace on Saturday. Want to go to MVP here. Who's your MVP in this one, Sean?
That one's tough because it was such an ugly, ugly game. I'm going to give it to Dyson Kohler, getting in double figures. That doesn't happen for him a lot. 27 minutes, 12 points. 5 boards, just
4 or 5 shooting, 2 of 3 from the 3-point line.
Because he had a solid game, and he wasn't the guy that you normally want or see a solid game like that from. So let's throw a shout out to Dyson.
Yeah, man, just one foul, 2 steals to go with that. Good game, man. Good game from a guy who got 27 minutes to start. I like it. But for me, the MVP goes to DJ because he wasn't losing that game. He gets the ball, 43 seconds left, like you said, takes it down.
Seconds.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. It was 23 seconds left in the game. Yeah. Takes it down, and gets the bucket to leave 6 seconds on the clock. Great. That's the kind of shot we need. I don't know if you remember a few years ago in the COVID season. I think it was actually against Sac State in Sacramento. Wildcats a little bit, it was a close game. Isaiah Brown takes the game over. He ain't losing. And single-handedly, make sure that the Wildcats pulled the dub out of, like I said, I believe it was Sacramento. But it felt like that, where it was like, DJ's not losing. We ain't leaving the Palace with the L tonight, man. He was going to make sure that we won. And that's why he's getting my MVP, because he made sure that Wildcats get the dub.
Completely fair and worthy.
So that's the last couple of teams, our last couple of green teams, 2 dubs against the green teams, which is something we like to see. We don't like losing to the green teams. And so now we're going to move on to our game called Buy or Sell. I've got some scenarios, some potential future scenarios for the Wildcats as we round the corner. I think we're about halfway through the conference slate now. Is that right, Sean?
We've played 8 of 8 teams. We have 10 conference games left. So our next game on Thursday will be the official halfway spot. But yeah.
Yep. So Thursday's game will be the official midway point, but we're just about there. And so I figured it was time to maybe look forward to the end of the conference season and see what Sean would buy and what he might sell. So first scenario I have for you, the Wildcats will end the season. Let's see. Let me make sure I got my numbers here. Let me make sure I got this right. I didn't type it up because I was a little bit distracted trying to cook dinner when I typed this up. Okay, yeah, I got this right. All right. So the Wildcats will not end the season in dead last for team rebounds.
I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to tell you why. Right now, Weber State is dead last with 31.3 boards per game.
Yeah.
The next two teams above them, Idaho State at 31.7, Montana at 31.8. Those decimal point averages are the difference of 1 to 2 rebounds per game. I think that you'll see the movement in those bottom spots. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to all of a sudden take over first place from Sacramento State, but I think that we can get enough rebounds that you could even move up as high as number 7, where Idaho is only averaging 32 rebounds per game. And I think you're going to see movement in those if you can swing 2 or 3 rebounds per game over the last 10 games of the season. So I'm going to buy that we are not going to finish in last place.
Yeah, because I'm going to buy this too, because like you said, all the way up to 5. Portland State sitting at 5 right now in the conference at 32.5 per game. It only takes a few to get you back up. You know, there's a lot of swing, I think, in these bottom 5 spots. Once you get to 4, Montana State at 34.5 a game, and it starts to maybe get a little bit out of reach where, you know, they're a full 100 rebounds ahead of you in total. So I think I'm with you, Sean. I'm going to buy here because I think that they're going to get out of that basement. So next up, Dylan Jones ends the season leading the conference in rebounds. You going to buy or are you going to sell?
I'm also buying this, but I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach to it because I use some of my public school math skills. And so somebody, forgive me if I got this wrong. By my manner of reckoning, the number 2 player in the conference, which is, in fact, I have it here, Callum McRae from Sacramento State. Right now, DJ is averaging 10.9 boards per game. Callum McRae is averaging 9.6. If I did the math correctly, McRae would have to out-rebound DJ by 27 rebounds over the course of the last 10 games of the season to take that over. That equates to 2.7 to 3 rebounds per game. Doable, but doubtful. Therefore, I'm buying the do-it-all DJ is your conference rebounding leader when the season is said and done.
Yeah, because we talked a little bit about how, of course, like we just said, that Sac State leads the conference in rebounding right now. They're averaging 37 a game as a team. They got 41 on Thursday or on Saturday night in the Palace. I think that the problem with McRae getting that number is that there's going to be competition for boards on his own team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, he's got a fellow teammate, Akol Mawine, there averaging 6.9 himself. And so, like, that's going to be a factor as we sort of scroll through here. And so it's just like the splitting of rebounds, I think, might be the thing that does him in. There's nobody else in the top 25 who plays for Sac State. A lot of Eastern Washington guys, by the way.
So yeah, you're making my point. It's easier for the team to change their rebounding averages because you've got 5 guys on the floor that can all get a rebound at once, and you as a team you can get more rebounds. A lot harder for an individual to change their rebounding numbers, especially this late in the season. So this late, you are who you are, and as it is, DJ is getting 1+ more rebounds per game than McRae. So it's going to be a lot more difficult for McRae to make up that difference with only 10 games left.
Yeah, I agree, because right now, Dylan Jones with 208 total rebounds, McRae with 191. So
yeah, that's why I said that the difference is 27. McRae would have to out-rebound DJ by a total of 27 boards over 10 games.
I'm with you. I'm buying. I think DJ gets the rebounding rebounding title if there is such a thing by the end of the season.
Yeah.
All right, next one up. Okay, so you can tell me what you think here. We talked about the Jekyll and Hyde shooting night for Steve Verplanken Thursday, absolutely on fire. Saturday night, absolutely cold. It was a rough shooting night. But overall, Steve right now is shooting, I think, like 42%. Let me see if I can get this up. Oh, I have to go pull up the university stats. I don't have them up. But
I've got them
Steve,
up here.
yeah, Steve's shooting like 42 point something percent, like 42.5% right now
It's
from three.
42.3
Three, okay.
as it stands on the season.
Yep. So, I mean, that's a great number. That's an absolutely great number. You can tell me if you want to buy or sell on this, Sean. Steve Verplanken ends the season shooting above 45%.
I'm selling. I want him to do that, but just just the exact same reason we talked about with the rebounding with DJ. I'm going to talk about with the 3-point shots. This late in the season, it's a lot harder for an individual to change that. He's going to have very consistent 5 of 6, 4 or 6 game 3-point shooting nights over the last 10 games. Not impossible for him to do, but right now, if you're at 42, raising by 3 whole percentage points over the last 10 games is going to be a little bit more difficult. I want to see Steve do it, but I'm going to sell and say that he finishes just shy.
So I'm with you too. I think I'm going to sell because, bumping up 3 whole percentage points at this point in the season, like you said, is tough. He's made 41 threes on the season. So Jalen Cone from Northern Arizona leads the conference at 56. He's averaging 2.9. Steve's averaging 2.1. And he's roughly 15 made threes behind Cone. So it's something that maybe could be done because the numbers are smaller. But at the same time, you'd have to have a string of really hot shooting nights to really make a dent in a percentage that has, we're roughly 3/4 of the way through the season now. There's a lot of average already baked. You really got to make an impact if you're going to move it. So with you, I'm going to buy, but I would really love to see him come close because if Steve Verplanken can get shooting that 3 hot, like consistently, the Wildcats will be a dangerous team in Boise.
Okay.
The next one up, Daniel Ruzan becomes the backup center by the end of the season. Buying or selling on that?
I'm going to buy because I think he already is.
Okay.
He's the first one off the bench to replace Chu, right? And I know he's splitting minutes with Tamba a little bit, but I think Ruzan's getting the more consistent minutes, and so I'm going to say he already is. So I'm buying that he will be at the end of the season because he already is.
Yeah, because it kind of depends, right? So in the Sac State game, Tamba got more minutes. He got 11 minutes, whereas Ruzan only got 7. But their numbers were comparable. Ruzan had, more shots, which is, I think, his strength is that offensively he's further along. But then again, you look at the Portland State game, and it's the reverse. Ruzan has 13 minutes, whereas Tamba just 5. So it kind of flip flops.
I think that's matchups. Ruzan's averaging 10.4. Tamba's averaging 9.5. Now, if you're going to switch this question and ask me who do I think has more upside, I think Tamba has more upside, and I think overall will be the better player. But if you're asking me who the backup center is today and who it will be at the end of the season, because I think rotations are already baked. It's hard to make changes this late in the season. You're trying to finalize for those 3 games in Boise. It's Ruzan, and I think he already is the backup center. So that's an easy buy for me.
All right. I also going to buy because, like you said, I think that right now at this point in the season, I think that Ruzan, it is about matchups, and that's important. But every time that he's come in, he's just kind of had this impact. He has the ability to back guys down in the post. His scoring ability is a little bit further along than Tamba's is. But Tamba is long, and I think his defense is better. We saw that when Tamba was on the floor in the Idaho State game, things slowed down quite a bit in the post, right? They were not able to score nearly as easily. Whereas when other folks were on the floor, it wasn't the same. Pluses and minuses to both, but I'm with you. I think I'm buying. All right, Sean, final one, and then we'll get to the upcoming schedule here. We're going to talk about Boise, and Sean kind of hit me up on this one a little bit, but we're gonna leave it to you folks. So we're gonna put up on the screen now the bracket this year, because with with Southern Utah leaving the conference, it required that the conference kind of put together a new format for the basketball tournament in Boise.
Well,
So it'll be
there's two reasons for that too. The top seeds wanted there were the coaches and the athletic directors petitioned the conference because the way the original format was set on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there was no advantage to being a top two seed except for better playing times on Thursday. But everybody had to play 3 games in 3 days to win the title. The other portion of that story is another reason why the conference changed the brackets is because you'll look that the conference tournament now starts on a Saturday and ends on a Wednesday. This was so that they could get the last games on ESPNU and ESPN2. So the better TV times necessitated finishing early in the week before the big conferences have their tournaments or finish their tournaments. So that was a trade-off that the Big Sky did to get the better TV schedule. So with that, we've got the new format of the conference tournament. The other thing you'll notice about the schedule is that it goes 5 days instead of 3, and to do that, they've only got 2 games per day. So we no longer have that marathon Thursday of 4 games in one day. So only 2 games per night, consistent start times for all the games, but it means that giving the top 2 seeds an extra day of rest. So what will happen is the bottom seeds will play on Saturday. They'll feed into the top seeds, and you assume that the top seeds are going to beat those bottom seeds, and then they get a day off while the middle seeds don't even start their tournament till Monday. So with that as the explainer, Colby, ask your question.
all right. So my buy or sell is Weber loses in the first round of the tournament this year.
Now, I'm going to tell Colby that I'm selling this because what's the first round? Now, to me, we've got the bracket up in front of us on the screen here. The first round is on Saturday, and we've edited this so that if the league standings were locked today, if everything stays the same, and this is how the teams finish, Weber finishes at number 3. They do not play till Monday. They play in the third round. That is the third round of the tournament or the third day of the tournament. You could argue that it's the second round there.
I was
going
going to say, technically it's the second round. It's the second round.
Okay, but now, if the question is, does Weber lose on the first game they play in the tournament, which is how that question should have been asked.
Which is the spirit of the question, right?
The spirit of the question, and I totally get you on that. Does Weber lose on the first day? No, because we just beat Portland State by almost 20 on Thursday night at the Palace, and I think we are that many points better than Portland State. The game in Portland probably won't be that close when we play them later in the season, but I think that Weber beats Portland State. If the schedule holds today, that's where they end up. Even if they drop, you're likely playing Idaho State. You've got Sacramento State. Those are going to be a little bit tougher games, but I think Weber wins the first game of the tournament. It's the second game you want to watch out for because right now that's the Montana State Bobcats.
That has been a tough matchup for the Wildcats in the past year or so. So I'm with you, Sean. I think I'm going to sell. I think that the Wildcats can probably make it through their first game, beat the teams who, I mean, for the most part, I don't want to talk about the Stripes game because that pisses me off, and I was there. But overall, the Wildcats have shown that they can beat the teams below them, teams that I feel are, not as good as Weber State this year, but have struggled with, what I think are the teams that are better than them. And so far, that has been Montana State. I think we can all agree that Montana State, probably the defending champions, have had a pretty good run as it sits right now in the conference standings. Montana State sits 6-2 in conference play. The Wildcats 5-2. So Montana State had a good game against Weber and Bozeman. We'll see what happens in a few weeks when the Wildcats return to the Palace to face the Bobcats. But I think that they can probably get through their first game on that Monday should they continue to hold one of those top 4 spots in the conference. Well, really the top, 5? What is it, 6? I could barely read this. Nah, it's like 5.
Yeah. So the benefit is if you're 1 or 2, you're going to play on Sunday, the second day, but then you don't have to play again until Tuesday. So you get the day of rest, which is what all the coaches want, and that makes it more like the conference schedule, playing Sunday and Tuesday. Um, they're pretty much saying that if you're in the bottom four of the conference, they want you to go away as early as possible. You get invited to the tournament, but they want you to go away, and so they're going to make you play the top teams, and you're there before the tournament really gets going on Monday. I'm actually very interested. I've been to every neutral site tournament that the Big Sky has had since they moved it to Reno, and I think that's those Saturday games are going to be very sparsely attended. Although it is interesting to me on the way the standings are right now, Montana playing on Saturday, and you would get a Brawl of the Wild rematch on Sunday. That's actually an interesting matchup because that was a close game on Saturday night when those two teams met for the first
It
time.
was.
And that one could be interesting because I think if Montana holds at 7, they're a tough matchup for Montana State in a neutral site, and I don't know, that could be a toss up. And if that's the case, then that bottom half of the bracket staying at number 3 is actually really good for that team. Just the way the bracket's playing out right now. And we've still got half the conference season to go, and so you've got some things to work out. But man, I like the bracket setup for Weaver because you've got that an emotional rivalry game before you have to play one of the top teams. That's a fantastic matchup. Plus, you get to exercise Montana Demons if you get to play them.
So this situation right here is why I kind of don't like the new setup, because here's why. So yes, obviously, if you have to play on Saturday, the first day of the conference tournament, you have to face one of the top 2 teams in the conference. That's going to be a challenge. Those teams are going to be good. The Big Sky is not a terrible league, and it's usually a league that is at least 4 to 5 teams deep. Any one of those 4 or 5 teams can probably win the conference tournament. So you're going to have to face one of those top 2 teams. But here's the advantage to that. In the past, if you were one of the teams that had to play on opening weekend, you had to run the whole thing through. You had to win 4 straight games, right? And so
it's always been 3. There was always one game on Wednesday that fed into the 4 games on Thursday. So
the advantage here is if you can get the upset, you win yourself that extra day of rest.
You do. That is exactly right.
Whereas the Wildcats don't get that. If should you win your first game, you're going to have to play another game, and then you're going to have to play another game. You have to play 3 games to win championship with no rest. So in some ways, I feel like this new format kind of punishes the teams that are in the middle of the pack because they've got to go boom, boom, boom. Whereas if you're a lower seeded team, you could potentially upset. Now, of course, they're good for you if you do that. And then you steal that extra day of rest coming into Tuesday when you would face the winner of those 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 matchups.
Now, that sound you heard was 10 athletic directors and head men's basketball coaches saying, "Colby, you're crazy. We want to protect the top seeds in the conference because you've worked all season to get a top seed so that you can be best positioned for the 3 days in Boise, or now 5 days in Boise. If we're going to have success in the NCAA tournament, then we need to make sure that our best teams are going to the NCAA tournament." And the idea here is that the top seeds have the easiest path. And so you're giving them an extra day off. They only have to play 2 games in 2 days to win the tournament. 3 games overall, but 2 games in 2 days. And that's the goal, is to get the top teams the benefit. It's much like what the West Coast Conference has done for years, where the top 2 seeds have a bye clear into the semifinals. And every other team has to play like 16 games to get to the semifinals. This is the weirdest bracket I've ever seen.
It is weird.
But you're setting up, if you're Gonzaga and whoever finishes number 2 every year, you're automatically in the semifinals so that you can have the best shot of getting into the NCAAs.
A rotation of Brigham Young or St. Mary's. Although San Francisco's been plucky.
San Francisco's been good this year.
All right, so we're both selling on that. We feel like the Wildcats, they've got a good shot at winning that first game. So that's buy and sell. Look at the upcoming schedule now, folks. Like we said, the Wildcats are going to be hitting the road this week, Thursday, January 26th, at Idaho, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, ESPN Plus or 103.1 The Wave. Then Saturday, January 28th, at Eastern Washington. That'll be at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, ESPN Plus or 103.1 The Wave. Will be interesting to see how the Wildcats match up against the Eagles, because as difficult as the matchup has been with Montana State, I think the Eagles are really the favorite to win the conference tournament in my eyes. Now, they haven't had to play everybody quite yet, and so we'll kind of see how they match up against other teams. But overall, I said it last season, the way that Eastern played in the conference tournament, like they're dangerous. That's a team that's going to contend, and they've done a really good job so far now, undefeated in conference play, sitting at 8-0 atop the conference slate. Then the following week, things get
the
a
way,
little
Colby, Eastern's played Montana, Montana State, Sacramento State. They have played all the top teams in the conference and
Well,
won.
I mean, they haven't played Weber State, but you're right.
They haven't
played
played
some
Weber
tough teams.
yet, but they've played the other two teams in the top four. So I'm not going to discount Eastern Washington. They are the best team in the conference.
No,
right
they're good. They're good, and they're currently on a 10-game win streak. So next up, then, things get a little bit weird. The rematch game against the Stripes, Saturday, February 4th, at Idaho State. You should drive up there. You should boo the Stripes. We should beat them in their crappy gym, and then we get to go home. So go to the game, boo the Stripes, encourage the Wildcats to win, and avenge us for what happened a couple of weeks ago when I was in attendance. Then Monday, February 6th. Now, this next week is going to be a little bit tough, because then the Wildcats face Northern Colorado in Greeley on Monday, February 6th. That game is at 9 time, ESPN Plus or 103.1 The Wave. Then Thursday, February 9th, we get back to a regular schedule. But the Montanas come to town. So Montana State comes on Thursday, February 9th, 7 p.m. at the Palace. Then Saturday, February 11th, Montana comes to town, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at the Palace. So that week is going to be really interesting, because they'll have to play 3 in a week. Well, really 4 in a week's time, because you're playing Idaho State on Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday. I don't know why they did it like that. I really don't. Why did they do that, Sean?
It goes back to the conference tournament. They did, in order to move the tournament back, they had to make the schedule so that every team has one Monday or more than one Monday game. I think everybody has 2 Monday games throughout the course of the conference regular season. I think it's unfortunate that
Ours is a
Weber
raw
has to
deal,
go-
man.
Yeah, and it always seems that way. It always seems like the conference office gives the Wildcats a raw deal on scheduling. But going to Greeley and then coming home to face Montana and Montana State, that's a tough ask. And so
Luckily, the Pocatello road trip is, not very far. We're talking about an hour and a half. It's fine. You go up there, you come back. It's not that big a deal.
yeah, but I wish that game. Look, I can't have it both ways. I shouldn't argue about this. I always complained that the Idaho State game is on a Thursday night, and you can't go up and be there. So they made it on a Saturday. They listened to me, and they made it on a Saturday. But in this situation, I wish it were on Thursday, so that you would have Thursday, and then you get the 3 days rest before Monday before doing that trip. But we can't have everything we want in life, and so you're going to do it. So the Idaho State trip, that's the easy one. At least you get the Thursday off before that. But going Saturday, Monday, that Northern Colorado trip as a one-off is just brutal, because it is not
It's a dumb
easy
road
to get to
trip.
Greeley.
It's such a dumb road trip. Yeah. Jeff Millard in the comments, who's in to get a suite? I mean, I think it's a great idea. Get a suite in Boise. Seems like a good time. You agree, Sean Lewis?
We've looked into this many times and could never make it happen. A suite usually goes in for about $1,000 to $1,100, and includes 10 tickets. So if you get 10 friends to go up with, you can have a party deck as a suite for $100 a person. It's not a bad deal. It's good. The trouble is finding 10 people that want to be up there for all 5 days to watch the Wildcats and pay for that, even if they lose early in the tournament. So
$100.
But Millard will talk.
All right. I like it. I mean, maybe it's something we should put in the Facebook group, see if we can get 10 guys together, or 10 folks, whoever, it could be other folks, want to get a suite together. I mean, $1,100, man, like that ain't too much. And like, you get food up there. Isn't that right? Like
Food is extra. The
Oh,
$1,100 is just for the tickets. But as Millard says, floor tickets to sit on the floor are only $125 for all session. Um, Face it, folks. The Big Sky tournament is a great basketball deal. Um,
huge
you
deal.
get 9 games. Uh, 9 games, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9 games for $100 in a really decent basketball venue. I've got my favorite seats. Jeff likes to sit a lot closer to the floor than I do, but the it's a great value for what you get to see all the teams there and have
Downtown
that.
Boise's
And
fun. I like
there's
Boise a lot.
restaurants like it's right. The arena's right at the Boise Center on the Grove, so if you're familiar with that, there's restaurants. It's very walkable. You can get around. There's several hotels that are right in the vicinity there. If you're a real huge fan, you can stay at the same hotel as the team. Those hotels go for a little bit more than what you can get on the regular market. There's lots of VRBOs around. I am all in. The conference has done a really good thing for getting the conference tournament in a really, really sweet spot. The only thing that I'm going to say, I mean, I love Boise. I spent a lot of time in my youth there.
Same. I
It's a
like it.
great city. I'm there. But there's a brand new arena in Henderson, Nevada, the Dollar Loan Center, where
Oh,
Weber State played earlier this year, that maybe for a fan perspective, being in close to Vegas, you're not on the strip, but you're
you're not
close to
in
Vegas.
Vegas.
You've got the other conference tournaments that are going to go on because you've got the West Coast going on at the same time. Then when the Big Sky is done, you've got the Pac-12 and the Mountain West right there at the same time. So that could be an option for the true basketball junkie if the conference were looking to move it. But I'm not advocating for that because I think Boise is the most central place for all of the Big Sky schools, and I think that Boise has done a great job of hosting. It's a good little arena. It's not Boise State's arena. It's a small arena where the used to be the D League team in Boise used to play there,
Idaho
and
Stampede.
the Idaho Stampede, now
Now,
the Utah Stars.
yep. Now the Utah Stars.
Um, but they've got the ECHL team. That's the ECHL arena that plays the Grizzlies.
Idaho Steelheads.
The Steelheads. Yep. And so and Millard makes a good point. There's no restaurants close to the Dollar Loan Center within walking distance. Although give them 10 years, those will come. But
Give them a decade. They'll get there.
yeah,
Until then, Boise it is.
yeah, Boise it is. I love Boise. It's a beautiful city, great place to spend the springtime. And if you're in Boise, join me at Goldie's for breakfast because that is the place to be.
Oh,
If you
man,
know, you know.
that sounds great. All right, Sean, we'll wrap up the show. Email us, WeberStateWeekly@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, patreon.com/WeberStateWeekly. Like I said, I got to get a couple of those preview shows recorded for our patrons. Really want to thank them. Want to produce some special content for them as a thank you to them for their long time support. And then the blog, WeberStateWeekly.com. I haven't written anything recently, but it's there if you want to read it. Maybe we'll do something, I think, probably write something up for the upcoming signing day, just to kind of like recap this year's recruiting class. But yeah, but look for that content if you are a patron, man, because I'm really excited to make it. And I think that hopefully it's useful to you folks as well. So we'll wrap up the show like we always do. Thank you to Sean Lewis for taking some time to chat hoops with me tonight. Weber State, Weber State.
Great, great, great. Go Wildcats. Where's my camera? Right there. There we go.